breeding, which is primarily in grains, plant pathology, which is vegetables, vegetable seeds, and because of Tobin and Dalphy, berries, weed management, entomology, and livestock. My own expertise is in climate, energy, and water. We do partner with county extensions, so partners like Chris Benedict, who are up here in Whatcom County, Don McMorrin in Skagit County, are critical to our ability to actually function and do work. In fact, Chris and I, shortly after I ended up in Mount Vernon, probably about a week after I ended up in Mount Vernon, we got notice from USDA that we got a $500,000 grant to do some work on dairy manure and berries, or dairy manure derived fertilizers in berries right here in Whatcom County. So it was a project we've worked on for about 4 years to try and get it funded, and we finally got it funded just after I moved over here. A couple of the key things that are going on right now in terms of trying to build additional capacity and expertise that we don't currently have from WSU working in Northwest Washington. After several years of trying, the College of Agriculture at WSU finally agreed to put a soil scientist on not the top of the list, but the top of the next tier list of potential faculty hires, which is a huge deal. It took several efforts from the department, from the Mount Vernon Center, and from the other center that I managed to actually try and get that up the list, and it looks like it may actually happen in the next year or two. We're also working on a position that's more of a teaching extension position focused in fermentation science that will start in kind of the fermentation on beverages, but potentially could work across in fermentation of foods. We think there's a revenue-based model to actually get that position created and going, that maybe even in the next 12 months we could have another position. I will say one other thing, though, that you may or may not have any knowledge of, but there has been an effort to establish a new undergraduate program out of Everett, kind of a joint campus of a number of different universities, called the University of North Puget Sound, that does include agriculture and food systems as a piece of that program. We don't know if that's going to go yet. We don't know quite how it will work out, but the potential exists that this is another way that we could actually build capacity and have faculty and research programs focused on applied agricultural issues working in Northwest Washington. So kind of an additional potential cluster of faculty. Another thing that I've focused on, and we've actually had some success already, is those of you who heard Dalphy earlier or Tobin earlier today. Tobin's a Pullman-based faculty member. We're a long ways from Pullman, and I think at points in time that's created a bit of isolation in terms of the number of people working on research problems in Northwest Washington is very limited because of how far we are and how logistically challenging it is for faculty to get from Pullman to here. However, I think the potential to actually get more people in Pullman coming up to work here is really good if we can use the Mount Vernon station as an opportunity, kind of a landing place temporarily for them to work from, much like Tobin has. And so we're looking into that. We already have Mejun Zhu, who's going to present tomorrow morning, has agreed to work on this project with Chris and I, and she jumped at the chance to come work up here. And so part of this is giving them some capacity and some opportunity to work up here, but there's hundreds of faculty in Pullman who could work on issues related to the types of production systems we have up here, and I think we can do that. In fact, one of my colleagues, who is actually a research engineer, not unlike Dr. Landers here, actually has for 12 years has worked up here. Comes up, you may not see him a lot. He mostly works on the dairy side. In fact, he was so effective that the Angar Corporation hired him away from us this summer. So that's a pretty big goal of mine, is to get more of our Pullman-based faculty or even other research and extension center faculty to come up and work up here. I'll talk a little bit about the programmatic work that I've done. So like I said, I mostly work in the climate, energy, and water kind of nexus of areas, more on the environmental side. Have worked with dairy digesters and nutrient recovery systems, along with this research engineer that is now living up here too. We will continue doing more of that work. The project that Chris and I got is another kind of piece of the puzzle of that hopefully we can get going. We also have a little bit of funding for the water resource supply and demand forecasting team that I've worked with for about 8 years now. We've largely worked in central and eastern Washington in the big irrigation areas, but we got some scoping funding to come start looking at agricultural water demand issues in northwest Washington to start doing some work up here. And the last thing I'll say is I do wear another hat within WSU, and that is I manage the Center for Sustaining Ag and Natural Resources. One of the key things that we have that's often been used up here is we manage a small kind of seed grant program for faculty to get their start. So if you come up with an issue that you're dealing with, and many of these faculty members who work in this area need a little bit of grease money, because as we know, there's no money in the universities. Well, we have a little tiny bit of money in the universities, and over the last 10 years, we've given out about 150 grants just to start a research project, get enough going that faculty can go and compete in the federal programs like SCRI and these types of programs. And the faculty from Northwest Washington have really used that program well. With me being over here, it should actually help them compete even better in that internal pool. So that's all I had prepared to state. Wanted to open it up. If anybody has any questions, or Chris, if you want me to say anything else.
No, let's open it up to questions. Don't all jump at once. Henry? No? Start picking on people like Randy.
Quiet group.
Well, thanks for coming up here, Chad.
Yep.
Appreciate it. And now we have a social hour. So I don't know if you can hang around.
I'll stick around.
Okay, that'd be great. First things first, pesticide credits are available in this room over on that side of the room. And then feel free to migrate towards the other corner of this building where there's appetizers and some good Kolsch beer and some wine. Hang out. So thanks for coming today.